Language and literature are two sides of the same coin. They coexist, they complement each other, and anybody trying to understand language
Excuse me,
has
sir.
to, yes.
Sir, which block, sir? You are saying
Mm-hmm.
which block, sir? Unit which unit, sir? You are saying
No, I haven't
class number,
started
class
with
which
English yet.
unit, sir?
So it's just giving an introduction about whatever it is. What is
Okay,
aspects of the language?
okay,
I'm
okay.
talking about the paper that you are reading, right? Whatever activity we do in our life, we need to know why we are doing and what we are doing. Right. So I'm trying to give you a brief, introduction of the paper itself, so that you will have a clear understanding of why this paper is prescribed in MA program and how is this paper going to help you in your real life. So bear with me for a couple of minutes on that, and then we'll start with the actual topic for today. Okay. So yeah, I was trying to convey that this paper is actually uh, is like it shows the beautiful coexistence of language and literature. Somebody trying to understand or learn a new language has to learn the literature of that language, or he ends up learning the literature of that language. For example, if you take any primary school student, we introduce language to young learners at the primary level. What they are taught? They are taught nothing but the rhymes, right? Those are basic things that are taught in the primary school. Right? For example, Baba, black sheep, have you any wool? Yes, sir, right? Or twinkle, twinkle, little star.
Yes, sir.
These kind of things, are taught to students who are very young or who are at a nascent stage of learning a new language. Now, how you are doing that? You are teaching them English language through literature. So, whether your intention is to teach language or whether your intention is to teach literature, you have to teach both, because they do not exist separately. They coexist. They exist together. So somebody who is studying MA English as a program and who go out after the program, successful completion of the program, into the market, into the society, and then say, yes, I have done MA English. They expect that, you speak English fluently, that you have that some magic mantras to 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 inspire them, to impress them with your languages. Don't they? They expect that you have some command over language, and with your flowery usage of the language, your fluency, you are going to impress them and impress everybody in the room. The fact is, you have studied every English program where you have been taught about different literatures, but the society expects that you know English very well. The reason is because language and literature coexist. Somebody who studies language would know literature, and somebody who reads literature needs to know language. That is the reason why the society expects you that after passing MA English, that you would speak English language fluently. You would be able to teach others basics of the language. So in this paper, that very perception of the society has been taken into consideration. And academically, there is a whole academic debate that language can be taught through using literature. So that is why we have this unique paper in your MA program. All other papers are important. I'm not saying that they are not important. They are important. They have their own relevance. They are like classics. But this particular paper is a more modern way of looking at language and literature, something that hasn't been academically taken up earlier. So this paper is unique paper in that sense, and that is why it is more important. Okay. So what we are going to do after learning or studying this paper, what we are going to achieve after studying this paper. Now, the answer to this question is, when you are studying it as a MA English program, it means it must deal with the literature part rather than the language part. But this paper helps you to objectively and in a scientific way, to an extent, pinpoint or identify those areas and aspects within literature which are related to actually language. How the features of a language are integrated into literature part. Now, I'll give you one example. Can somebody please recall that Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star rhyme?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please do.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Up above the world so high like a diamond in the sky.
Thank you so much. Now, this looks like a small rhyme. Right? But if you closely analyze this written piece or written literature part, which we consider as part of poetry, now you will see that there are a lot of language features. For example, the sound, whole sound mechanism that is generated when you utter these words, twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Now, there is some kind of repetition
Yes,
of
it
the
has a
sound.
kind of a rhythm. It has a kind of a
Rhythm,
tune.
yes, there is a repetition, there is a rhythm, right?
Yes.
There is a ups and
It's
downs,
like a
and
melody,
highs and
and it
lows,
has like
right?
a melody. Yeah. It's like for children
Exactly,
to
exactly,
attract the children, to bring them to a certain, understanding.
exactly. So this is what is, you know, an example of how language is enriching the literature. Now, sound, rhyme, rhythm, right? Stressed, unstressed syllable. These are aspects of a language, but they are pretty much there in the literature, right? We read literature, we understand it, we enjoy it, we benefit from it, but seldom we pay attention to these, rhyming pattern or so many other different, aspects that are purely studied when we study it as a language, English as a language, Hindi as a language, or any other language. Those aspects are not studied when you study literature for the sake of studying literature. Now, this particular paper is helping us identify aspects of language, antonym, synonym, hyponym, metonymy, metaphor, simile, parable, imagery, symbolism. There's so many different figures of speech on different different devices which are actually a part of or aspects of a language, and their presence in the literature makes literature what it is. Well, I hope now you understood why this paper is being prescribed to you in a English program. With this brief introduction, now let me go to talk about uh, a new topic, that is Indian literature. We have covered a few topics already in our physical classes, and if the students are desirous of to revisit those units, those blocks we have already covered, they can request and hopefully. I request you not to interrupt if you do not have a question. Keep your mic off so that I can continue. Yeah, so today we are going to talk about this one topic, that is Indian literature. Now, when you think of Indian literature, what comes to your mind?
Indian literature, to me, all the writers come into my mind, like whether it is Khushwant Singh, or whether it is like novels, and the poets like Rabindranath Tagore. All these people come to my mind.
Wonderful. So you have one writer coming from Punjab, the other coming from Bengal, maybe one more coming from Andhra, right? Maybe one more from Malayalam, right?
Yes, sir, absolutely. And from other countries as well. We talk about Shakespeare, we talk about, Wordsworth, we think about so many other people when we talk of literature.
I believe they don't fall under the category of Indian literature.
Sorry, sir.
Yeah. So they are writers and writers who produce literature in English language, no doubt about that. But they may not strictly, in a strict sense, fall under the Indian literature category. Yeah, the first few names that you have uttered, that is Khushwant Singh, right? Rabindranath Tagore, Kamala Das, Ambai. All these are people, these are the writers who fall under Indian literature and Indian writers category. No, but when we see this nomenclature, Indian literature, so we can clearly identify two different words within that, literature and Indian, right? The
Yes.
literature, we all know what is literature.
Yes, sir.
So now literature produced by Indians. If you want to simplify this nomenclature, right? Literature that is produced by Indians can be understood as Indian literature. Now, the fact is, what would you call somebody who is in America and then writing a novel? Do we call him or her as Indian writer?
No, sir.
No, right? So when we find how this classification happens, that is, which writer and which work is considered Indian, we'll see that there are certain criteria. Now, when it comes to you and me, when we say we are Indian, on what basis we say we are Indian?
We have gone maybe on migration. I don't know whether I'm talking correctly. Migration.
No, let's talk about you and me. Right. We call ourselves as Indians. So what
Yes.
is the criteria that qualify us as Indians?
What qualifies us as Indians?
Yes. When we
We're
say
born in
Indian, right?
we are born in India. We follow our parents belong to this country. It may be that our
Yeah.
parents belong to another country, but they are all born. We are born here, so we become the citizens of this country. We follow certain rules and regulations.
Wonderful. So your response uses 2 points to the question. First, because I or you were born in India, that is why we can claim ourselves as Indians. Okay, naturally good. Then second, my ancestors, my parents or somebody from my generations, were Indians. So that's why I'm calling myself as Indian. Okay, this is the second criteria. We'll see which criteria is actually taken into consideration for the classification of Indian literature. But so far we got two criteria. Are there any other possible criteria or criterion apart from these two? That is,
It can be that one of the parent is born Indian and the other one was of another country. Still, the child belongs to born in this country, becomes an Indian.
okay,
Um,
okay,
And sometimes a person migrated to another country and taken the fellowship of the, citizenship of the country, then also he treated as a person. So many
so
noble
I mean,
Indian
dual
noble winners
citizenship.
are born in India and went to America like that.
Okay, dual
okay.
citizenship.
No, we'll not go into that, nationalistic or political uh, concerns. What he's trying to say is that, if my roots are connected to India, right, like my ancestors' roots are connected to India, so I am qualified to call myself as Indian. Similarly, if my roots are also connected to India, then also I can call myself as Indian. So this is the third point. Okay, good contribution. Thank you. And then that's it.
So if you're born in another country, or if you're sorry born in this country and live here for a not naturalized citizen, also you become so they become naturalized citizens.
Of India. You mean to say that, like Ruskin Bond, he might have been born somewhere, but he has, he has been naturalized in India, so he can be called an Indian writer. Is that what you mean to say, or did I understand it correctly or not? You mean to say somebody might have been born outside India in any part of the world, but he or she has come to India
Yes, and
and
got the citizenship
being
and stayed here
naturalized
for a
as,
long time.
Indian.
Yes, that's right, sir.
Okay. Okay. So then that example goes pretty much close to Ruskin Bond. Okay. Yeah. So we got the fourth criteria. So any more? Okay. So we got two different people, participating in that. I would like to, ask them which state they belong, or which language they speak. Both of you.
So
You speak which language?
I speak English, but my mother
As mother
tongue.
tongue.
Yes, sir. But I'm born in Telangana.
So you speak Telugu, right?
Yes.
Your mother tongue is Telugu. Okay, fine. The other gentleman who contributed to this discussion, may I know which
No, my
place
mother
belong?
tongue is English. My mother tongue is English, but I speak Telugu also.
Okay.
My father is Anglo, so my first language is English. At home we speak English, but otherwise it's depends upon the region. Like I'm born in Telangana, Warangal, so I speak Telugu. I speak Hindi. So
Mother tongue means mother tongue.
my
You
mother
may
tongue,
speak because we Indians speak more than one language by default. It's
yes,
our necessity in a society like ours.
yes,
So but mother tongue is mother tongue.
yes. When we say mother tongue, for me it is English, sir.
Okay. So what about the other gentleman? Does he speak English as a mother tongue or some other language?
Telugu, Telugu, sir.
Telugu. Okay, very good. Now my question is, if somebody has English as mother tongue, Telugu as mother tongue, and some may have Urdu as mother tongue. What do you call a literature that is produced in Telugu, in English, or in Urdu, or any other Indian language for that matter? Can we call those literatures as Indian literature?
Yes, sir. But literatures are written in different languages, no? It's written in, it's translated in so many languages, in so many countries. So, I can,
Now, when you say
Generally, sir,
Urdu
we call it
literature,
as
Telugu
Telugu
literature,
literature like that. Generally, we call it as Telugu literature, Hindi literature like that we call it. But
mhm.
if you think broadly, it comes under Indian literature only because all the languages are in India only. I'm thinking like that.
yes,
Okay.
because
Telugu Sahityam, we say like the Telugu Sahityam.
So you mean to say uh, Telugu literature produced in Telugu can be called Telugu literature,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
yes, sir.
and that Telugu literature can be called Indian literature because Telugu is an Indian language.
Yes, sir.
Hmm? Am I
Yes,
am I
Yes, sir.
am I understanding it
absolutely.
correctly?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, madam, you said English is your mother tongue,
Yes,
and you have produced something or you have written something in English.
yes.
Now, can we call it English literature?
Yes, sir, it's Indian literature again because I'm born in this country. I may be producing Indian English.
Yeah, Indian
Mhm.
English
Indian English literature. Excellent. Very good. So, what would you call somebody who whose mother tongue is Telugu and who is in, say, Canada or Australia or Germany, and then writing something in Telugu? So, do we call it as Indian literature?
No.
No.
I think yes, sir. If they are writing in Indian languages, then it is in Indian
Now, to
language.
clarify, assume that that writer has German citizenship or Australian citizenship or American citizenship, but he is writing or she is writing in Telugu. So can we call it as Indian literature?
No, sir.
Hmm?
The,
No.
the place he's staying is irrespective to the work he's doing, right? Like he is doing the work that is related to Indian, and just it's just like he's staying there. That's it. But the work he's doing is completely Indian. I believe it is Indian literature.
Mhm.
Is it like
No.
it's called it's anything lingual, multilingual?
Mhm.
Multilingual background, so he knows Telugu also, he knows German from another country.
So now the first thing is, if you are born and brought up in India and write something, then you may be called an Indian writer. First. Second, whether you were born or not in India, but you have connections with India in the form of your ancestors, your people, your relatives living in India, and maybe you are earlier generation of yours migrated to some other country in India, and you write something, you can still be called an Indian writer, right?
Okay,
Then,
sir.
then if you produce,
When does a person become multilingual, sir?
Mhm.
When does a person become a multilingual?
That nobody can say. The moment you learn more than one language, right, then you start your journey towards multilingualism. For example, I speak 4 different languages. I understand 4 different languages. And as I told you, in India, majority of people know more than one. Ours is a multilingual society, no doubt about it. Now, our concern here is, if Anybody who was born in India and producing some literature, then that literature may be called Indian literature. If somebody writes in any of the recognized Indian languages, then that literature will also be taken as Indian literature. If somebody who has roots in India, if they have migrated to some other country and writing from there, then that also is considered as Indian literature. I hope now we have a very clear understanding of what we take as Indian literature. So three important points that you have to keep in mind when it comes to Indian literature. Now, one important thing is that one key feature that we can notice when we are talking about Indian literature is that uh, no matter whether the literature is produced in Malayalam, produced in Marathi, Telugu, Tamil, Oriya, Bengali, Assamese, or any of the recognized Indian languages. One central thing that a reader can find in the literature that we call Indian is the representation of the culture, a reflection of the Indian culture. And when we say Indian culture, it is diverse culture, right from Adivasis, culture of the Adivasis, to minorities, to majorities, to hilly people, to urban people, to rural people, right? To one religion, to multiple religions, all. So Indian literature reflects the Indian diversity. Now, as I told you, the third point when we were categorizing Indian literature, our third criteria of Indian literature, somebody who was born and brought up in India and migrated to some other place, or his ancestors migrated to some other place. And if he goes there and he talks about the Indian connection, the Indian culture, the Indian history, Indian civilization, we are taking that as Indian literature also, with a extra adjective, diaspora, right?
Exactly, I was looking for that word, diaspora.
Yes. So if something has to be understood as an Indian literature, then the literature must have Indianness, Indian culture, Indian sensibilities, right? And Indian history, politics, whatever. But if a German is writing about Indian culture, if an Australian is writing about Indian people, right? If a British person is writing about Indian history, that is not categorized as Indian literature. Remember this. First, it must.
ఇంకా కనిపిస్తుంది ఫోటో చూడండి ఒకటి నాకు క్లియర్ పెట్టరా
Now we will talk about India.
ఏనొక్కలు మొహం చూస్తాను
Somebody's mic is on. Please.
By Lakshmi, I think.
Can you please?
క్యాన్ చేసి మళ్ళీ పెళ్ళి అని
Vijayalakshmi Garu, please mute your mic. Yes. So now we have understood what Indian literature is. We'll try to go a little deeper in the topic. Now, when we say India, you know how many Indian languages are there? Any rough guess?
21 approved by constitution, sir. That there are more languages, some thousands of languages.
I think there are thousands of languages, but 32 languages, I don't know.
There are as many as 1600 plus languages in India. Out of that, not all have a script. When we say script, written codes, which we usually call alphabet, signs and symbols associated with the language. So not all languages have the written script, and a few have a script. Like for example, Sanskrit, Hindi, I think also Marathi are written in one particular script. Does anyone know in which script it is written? Do you know? Any idea? In which script, Hindi or Marathi or no?
Devanagari.
Sanskrit, yes. Excellent. So, Hindi is written in Devanagari script, right? So,
You're right.
do you know in which script Telugu is written? Any idea?
Sanskrit, a little
Dravida.
bit. Dravida. You can say it goes back to the roots of Sanskrit. So many languages, Kannada.
Dravida is not a script. Dravidian is a family of languages, like Aryan is a family of languages.
Sanskrit.
No, Sanskrit itself is written in Devanagari. Sanskrit, Hindi, Marathi, these are sister languages. They are written in Devanagari script. Can you check, because most of the people are from Telugu background, right? Whose mother tongue is Telugu. I urge that in which script the Telugu is written. Like Punjabi is written in a script called Gurmukhi.
Brahmi script. Brahmi script.
Have you checked it clearly?
Yes, sir.
Veda?
Somebody said something else.
Sir, Veda?
Has an Abugida meaning itself. Dravidian language.
And tell me in which script Telugu is written. You can type that and you can find the answer.
It's written in the Telugu script is used to write the Telugu language.
Script.
I do clearly. Sir, we can't hear you, sir.
Because I'm not speaking, I'm expecting an answer.
Telugu is written in Telugu script, sir.
Ancient South Brahmi script.
So it is written in Brahmi?
Brahmi script, sir. Yes, sir.
Because it is related to our own culture, so I was insisting on knowing that. Okay? Yeah, so there are hundreds of, even more than 1,600 languages in India, out of which a few are written and many are only spoken.
So much is borrowed from the other languages also.
Uh,
Each language
Now,
is borrowing from
yeah,
other
yeah,
languages.
that is how mutual coexistence works. Right. So, Dravidian family has many languages, including Telugu is part of Dravidian family of language. Telugu, Kannada, Tamil, Malayalam. These are Dravidian family of languages. Now, if you go up in the north, you have Aryan family of languages, including Hindi, Marathi, even Punjabi are part of the language. So, languages, there is a mutual benefit to the languages. When they are neighboring states' languages or neighboring region languages, they benefit from each other. For example, in Telugu, for one, what you call Okati,
Okati.
Okati. But if you go and see what one is called in Kannada or in Malayalam or in Tamil, you will clearly make out that, with a slight variation. I think in Malayalam, Okati, I don't know about Tamil and Kannada. The sound also is similar. Four languages are like,
It's called
it is
Onnu.
like, given names
Onnu.
which resemble. Huh?
Onnu. In Malayalam, it's called Onnu.
Similar.
See, sir, it's all similar, sir. Like Onru, Onnu, Okati. So
Right?
they're all having the same kind of sounds or the beginning sound or something like that.
Exactly. That's my point is, when the languages are from the same family, they will have a lot of vocabulary and also grammatical rules very much similar to one another. Now, we'll come back to the actual point of our discussion. That is, so in India, we have many languages which have script, which means languages are written. But out of those languages also, there are some languages which have been uh, now, if you do that is, take out any 10 rupees or 20 rupees note that you have and see its back. You will find, for languages written on that. So please check and tell me how many
It's written in the Bharati Reserve Bank. Then we can see there are many other languages which are written just below the number 10. Thus, rupiah is written in Hindi, 10 rupees in English. And then there are many languages here, sir. Maybe you can say that there's Malayalam, there's Hindi, there is Punjabi, I don't know. So many languages.
Can you please count the number of languages at least?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 15 languages I can see, sir. 15, 16 languages, 17 languages. 10 rupaya, dahi rupaya, mak. It's in different languages, sir. At least 10 to 15 languages are there.
Yes. So, in fact, there are, I think, 23 languages or so, which have been, promoted by a national, National Academy of Letters, that is Sahitya Academy. They promote, I think 23 languages, 23 Indian languages. I think,
Yes.
15 or so are written on the note itself, right?
That's right, sir.
Which means these are the languages which have script, their literature of their own, and they have, some of them have status as classical language. Like, for example, Telugu is a classical language. Malayalam is a classical language. Right?
Yes, absolutely.
Sanskrit is a classical language. Not all languages are classical.
No.
They are modern languages. Like Urdu is a modern language, right?
Yes.
Maybe Punjabi is also kind of a modern language. But Sanskrit, Malayalam, and Tamil, Telugu, these are classical language, because these are the languages that existed for thousands of years. Right. So that is why they are called classical languages. And they have their literature, and a lot of civilizational values and culturally important things, rightfully preserved in the literature. Okay, so yes, so we can, for the sake of argument, we can say that at least these 23 languages are the languages in which, if you write, it will be directly taken as Indian literature, right? And some other languages may or may not get acceptance, but if you produce literature in any of these 23 languages that are promoted by Sahitya Academy, those directly, without any doubt, taken as Indian literature and then promoted globally through government platforms. Now, as I told you, Indian culture, now we'll go to the point number 2, that is Indian culture. Indian culture is a very diverse culture, right? Which means that culture is shaped by social stratification, by religious, diversity, by urban and rural, classification, by
tribal.
economic criteria, right?
Yes.
There's so many other different, things that shape up a culture. Culture is the broadest possible, term, and all other things are, making up, adding it to the whole.
Yes.
Right. So somebody who's living in a jungle
Tribal.
will also contribute to culture.
Tribal and culture, and
tribal,
folk and
yeah.
tribal folk.
Yeah. And somebody who is living in a flat, not even seeing the daylight, right, is also contributing something to the culture.
Yes.
Right? Because a unique culture is developed because of that style of living. So, India being a country of 130 billion people, 130 crore people, and coming from all walks of life, right? From working to non-working to agriculture to corporate culture, and so many things are adding to the Indian culture. So, if you are writing about any of these things as a writer, or any writer is trying to give a glimpse of any of its constituent parts of the whole, is taken as representing the Indian culture. Right? So after that, now if say, for example, if somebody is wearing a dhoti, right? Does that symbolize Indian culture?
So you, sir, please repeat.
If somebody is wearing a dhoti, does that person symbolize Indian culture?
If
Yes. So, what we wear, right?
yes,
And what we eat.
it displays our culture. It
Yes.
implies
What
it's our
we
culture.
wear, what we
What we eat,
eat, what we say,
or what we pray,
celebrate,
what we
what
celebrate,
we pray, you know,
yes,
what we work, all these things contribute to the whole as a culture of Indian culture, right?
yes, sir.
So whether it's wearing a dhoti or having a vermilion mark or a
Or a
kurta
turban,
pajama with a skull cap,
or
right?
a turban, yes.
Yeah, all these things are uh, Indian culture without any prejudice to anybody and anything, and without any preference to anybody and anything. So a tribal is as much important in Indian culture as a person doing religious services at a temple, right? Or a person leading a congregation in a mosque, right? So that is the beauty of India and Indian culture. We have a diversity, and diversity is something we can celebrate about, right? And it gives us more opportunities to understand each other, to celebrate our uniqueness, our unique identities within India, unique cultural constituents within India, right? Our unique dressing sense, our unique food habit, right? And unique ways of living. And if you happen to become a writer, you can represent any of these things. Okay. Now we'll move on to Google Pay
Again.
and we'll move on to the other part, that is Sahitya Academy. Sahitya Academy as a national. Some technical issues. Please bear with me. So we are talking about Sahitya Academy. Sahitya Academy is a national body that promotes Indian culture and Indian languages. Indian culture and language. And it gives awards in the promotion of Indian language and literature. We have a Sahitya Academy Award, which is given to those languages recognized by uh, Government of India and promoted by. There are 33 languages. If any person from any of the region who receives an award, a literary award, that is Sahitya Academy Award, for producing literature in, uh, in any of the 23 languages, that work is translated into remaining 22 languages and promoted by Sahitya Academy, right? I remember there is one Telugu writer named Volga. who was awarded by Sahitya Academy for her works. So,
I know Ione or something. Her name of
so Volgas is actually a Telugu writer who produced literature in Telugu. But when she was awarded, right, so her works have been, translated into remaining 22 languages. So that is what Sahitya Academy does to promote Indian literature. And it not only gives award to encourage, writers from different regions to contribute to Indian literature, but also to translate their works, the works of the awardees into remaining Indian literature. So now Volga's works for which she has been awarded is available in English, available in Urdu, available in Malayalam, and in all 22 different languages. And it publishes a journal with the same name, Indian Literature. If you haven't seen it earlier, I request you to after the class go and browse the Indian Literature Journal, which is published by Sahitya Academy. I think a couple of years ago, I had the chance to translate one Sahitya Academy Award winner from Hyderabad who produced literature in Urdu, Professor Beg Ehsas of Hyderabad Central University. When he got published and he got awarded that Academy Award, so I got the opportunity, golden opportunity in my life to translate some of his short stories into English. And one of the stories I translated of Professor Beg Ehsas was published in Indian Literature, which is Sahitya Academy's national journal. So if you happen to get a chance, please check Sahitya Academy's Indian Literature Journal, and if you're interested in Indian literature, do read that to get a better view. So now there are Indian literary traditions, right? That we will talk about in detail. I am once again, apologize for the inconvenience because of the travel that I am in. I'm sure your communication is being disturbed again and again because of this. Yes, so Indian literary traditions, something we will be talking about. Any idea of any of the Indian traditions you have?
When you speak of Indian traditions, means like what, sir? When they're talking about the temple prayers, or when we are talking about the people, what they wear according to their culture, the clothes, the jewelry, or the attire, it reflects about their culture.
When I say Indian literary tradition, there are so many Indian traditions, right? As I told you, wearing a dhoti is part of Indian tradition, right?
Yes.
Putting a
Uh,
vermilion mark is also part of Indian tradition,
yes. Wearing
right?
on a bindi,
Huh?
wearing on that kumkum.
Yes,
All those.
there are so many things, which are part of, Indian traditions, right?
Yes.
Even, a distinct way of, wearing a kurta pajama is also a Indian tradition. But
Absolutely.
we are not talking about general Indian tradition.
Yes.
Indian traditions which are related to literature.
పురాణాస్ మహాకావ్యాలు.
mythology.
Yes, so we are talking about Indian literary traditions. Thankfully, I got the seat to in the bus question, so I'll continue. Yeah, so we are talking about
Mythology, sir.
traditions which are related to literature or literature.
Indian mythology will come.
Mythology. Now, I'll give you one hint, right, so that we can start thinking about it. Now we have this Panchatantra tales, right?
Yes, sir.
Vishnu
Yeah.
Sahasri.
So, storytelling, unique way of storytelling is part of Indian literary tradition.
Hasi Majri Katalu.
Yeah. So we are trying to understand traditions like these, where oral storytelling, right, is pretty much part of our cultural and literary tradition. Right. Now, let me tell you that there are many versions of Mahabharata. You may have a few written versions of Mahabharata, but written documentation of Mahabharata is very modern feature. It's only after coming of the printing press and that printing technology coming to India, right, through British. So printing of text is a very late comer in Indian context. But even before that, for thousands of years, Mahabharata is being told again and again, again and again, and told in
Burra
different
Katalu, sir.
languages, told in different languages by different people for different audiences. So when you actually put all those versions together, you will find that they are not same. Strictly in the strict sense, they are not same. But you will find major characters to be same, right? The message to be more or less same of the story. Because one story, if it is told by 5 different persons, the story may be in title same, but in presentation it would differ. Right. The name of the character may remain same, but the characterization would differ. So in India, we have a very rich tradition of storytelling going back to thousands of years. So this is one particular tradition, or these kind of traditions I am pointing to when I say Indian literary tradition.
Like how they describe about Sita.
Yeah. Now that the
See,
character of
in so
Sita is
many
there.
literary characters, they speak about Sita. So many great poets, so many great writers have all spoken about what
Yes.
exactly Sita reflects in Indian society.
Yeah. Now, if you bring all those, descriptions together, you will see that, the name of the Sita is common in all, right? From, say, Ramayana or Mahabharata to all the poems and stories and novels. But you will find that specifics could differ. Right? Details may differ. So each becomes a different story archetype. Okay, so now coming to the linguistic survey of India. As I told you, there are 1,000+ languages. Right. No, but there are over 780 languages and 66 different scripts in India. Arunachal Pradesh is the richest among the states with 90 languages, according to a survey by in 2013. Now, there are in fact 1,600+ languages, but these those in that there are different dialects also. For example, when you say Telugu, right? When you say Telugu,
The people of Telangana speak it in a different tone, a different manner.
exactly,
And then the people of Andhra have a different way of speaking, the different dialect.
yes. So a dialect is also a form of language, right? Most of the time, dialects won't have a script of their own because they follow the script of the uh, primary dialect. Right. Andhra dialect is one, Telangana dialect is one, Rayalaseema dialect is one, Coastal dialect is one. But out of these four, all the four are written in the same script. Right. So each of the dialect don't have a different script, all follow same script. So when survey is done, right, like the one done and reported by the Hindu, they have counted it as 780. So when they come to Andhra or Telangana, they will count it as only one, not four different varieties. But if a proper linguistic survey is done, right, then they treat each way of speaking as different, each dialect as a different one. So that is why when we take dialect into consideration, like Hindi is one, but Bhojpuri is different. Now you cannot say Bhojpuri and they are same. No, it is different. Right. So in Telangana, the way Telugu is spoken is different from the standard one. So it's a distinct variety. So if you add up all these variations also, then it goes up to 1,600. Otherwise, strictly 780 languages, which have 66 different scripts. Okay. Now, yeah, so Census of India says, 1991 Census of India says that there are 1,576 mother tongues, which means people have reported that this is their mother tongue. At the academy, we talked about, yeah, so now it's not 23 languages, pardon me, it's 24 languages that progress. Okay. And there is one very interesting, book that is History of Indian English Literature, published by Science Academy, which you can refer. I think you might have seen this book already after taking admission in M.K. Nayak is the writer, I guess, who has written this book. This is the book that defines what Indian literature means, and it gives you a brief history of Indian English literature. Yeah, in the next class, we are going to take up Indian literary traditions, that is Bharat Muni's Natya Shastra, Panini's Astadhyay, Abhinava Gupta's Rasathin, and Kuntaka's Vapro. Because there is a lot of a background noise, so and by screaming, my throat is has got irritated, and I wish to close the class for today here, and in the next class we'll peacefully take up different topics. So with this, let's call it a day. Thank you so much for joining, and thank you for making this lecture interesting. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.